This episode is brought to you by Arlon Graphics, trusted for innovative high-performance cast vinyls. Check out their newest product, DPF V9500, a non-PVC polyurethane wall film built to tackle ultra-textured surfaces like a pro. More exciting new products to come soon from Arlon. Check them all out at onesco.com. You good?
Yep, I'm good.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I don't hear in the mic.
Oh, you don't hear anything?
In the earphone, sorry.
You might be. Oh, you're just down.
There you go. Right.
Good now?
Yep, I hear.
Okay. So we just played with them. Because when you do a live stream, completely different from doing an episode. And that's the last thing we did. So I was like, great. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. But I think we're good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of the Slightly Serious Sign podcast. We're here at RapsCon, so it's going to sound a little different, look a little different than our normal studio setup. I think this is the first podcast we've done outside of the studio since we built it, so it's a little weird for us. But a little different because usually there's a few of people on Wensco side. Usually here it's just me. So I want to just thank you for coming on. We appreciate you. It works out that we're both here at the show right next to each other, even better. So if you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, how long you've been doing this stuff, and what you do now. Yeah,
thank you guys for having me. My name is Austin Smith. I've been in the industry since 1998. Started my own company in 2008 in Jacksonville, Florida. Was able to like scale and grow that business from 2 guys in a garage to a big staff, 2 locations, and sell it in 2018. Asked to stay on board for a couple of months in 2018, and I'm still there for like a couple hours a day, every day. But so I really enjoy being engaged and understanding what's happening in the local wrap shop and overhearing what happens on a day-to-day basis. But also get to be involved in Pro Series with tool creation and my baby Paint is Dead, and just growing it in the industry, bringing different products to the industry, and continuing at this point to evolve into unique applications and products that are most needed and most desired in the industry. So yeah, kind of play a bunch of different roles in the industry, but it gives me kind of a unique perspective of the overall industry when I'm everything from dealing with a local customer in an end user type of situation, all the way up to dealing with distributors and manufacturers in the industry.
Yeah, I think if we hadn't had that conversation yesterday morning, and then I hadn't listened to your panel the end of yesterday, I think this conversation would have probably gone a different direction. But where I kind of wanted to go is I think you have an interesting perspective on businesses and how you can take them from, we talked about it yesterday, there's a lot of shops that are in that like 1 to 5 range, right? And a lot of them never make it out of that
correct
1 to 5 range, right? They're doing the same amount. And we were talking, a lot of them are running their business where it's like, did I make money? They're just looking at it like, what did I have on January 1st? Was it more on February 1st or less? And it's like, okay, is that because I have jobs that I'm still waiting to be paid for? They don't like 100% know. I think some of the software that are out here have got better at doing that part of tracking, but I think some people still don't know. They don't know if they're making money. They don't know if they're charging enough. They don't know if they should be charging more or less, or if they're even making money in the first place. So kind of what's your perspective on how somebody would take their shop and take it from, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 person shop and scale that to, some of these larger shops that are out there?
I think it's different in every aspect, but the overall consensus is that you do it one by one, okay? And ultimately, you get to a point where, let's say, if you're starting with a staff of 3, just to shoot the middle of what we're talking about here, and you're selling more, and you're selling it at a profit, an actual profit, and you're able to justify that every single job that goes through, and that's what's so important to me. I think I hit on it yesterday, and it kind of really struck a core. Is every single job you have to know that you're making the profit margin that you need in your business to be successful at the end of a month, at the end of a year. And so for me, growing from 2 guys, one in a garage doing installs and design, the other guy doing everything else, into a space where we had like 26 employees over 2 sites, was important to get to that goal. We did it in 10 years. So we started in 08, sold it in 18, and sold it for a great profit, was able to grow and kind of fall down those pit holes that happen. And the problem with this industry is that there is no book you can buy. There is no one podcast you can listen to that says, hey, watch out for this, don't fall into there. It's simply just kind of a like, don't fall so bad that you take yourself out of the game type of thing. So everyone's shop has kind of grown based off just falling into those pitfalls, recovering from them, learning, growing. And ultimately what I think is so important is you can put some very simple things in place that make sure that those pitfalls don't take you out of the game. And so growing one by one, piece by piece, once you get, I said yesterday, you kind of identify, and I was always able to kind of play that lifeguard role. Who's drowning? Like, who's got more than they can really handle? Can I internally offset that by kind of shifting maybe a little bit of the design process over to a production guy, or do I just need another body? And ultimately, when you bring that next body in, you've got to make sure that they're bringing something to the table and you're ready to push sales up enough to offset what that new body that you brought on was there to do. So for me, it's always a step-by-step process. It's not a go hire 3 new guys. It's scary to hire one new teammate. But ultimately, if you can't scale and you can't continually grow over the course of time, you're putting yourself in a space when you're in that 1 to 5 space. And we have something that happens with the economy, like in the last year and a half, where things kind of slowed down a little bit from a retail perspective. You really risk running yourself off the edge of the cliff. Like, okay, I'm just not going to be able to sustain myself. I've got to close up. And that's the worst thing to happen, but we see it happen a lot. And so you've got to really go from a very entry level up to sustainability and then beyond in your market as quickly as financially and responsibly possible, to ensure that if something dips or something falls off a little bit, that you can recover from it, you can get through it, or you can kind of shift and go after a different segment of market to make sure that you succeed and are there.
Yeah, we saw, I was just telling somebody the story. We sent out a mass email to all of our customers. I don't know, this was a couple months ago. And instead of sending it from like a generic email, which we typically do, for whatever reason, we accidentally sent it from my email. So I got all of the auto responses, and that's a whole thing of its own, right? But I got I was kind of just like sifting through them, making sure I don't miss anyone that actually physically responded to them. Yeah. And there was a lot of emails in there that was like, hey, sorry to let you know, sorry you're finding out this way, but we are no longer in business as of whatever date, due to a lot of it was like due to inflation, due to increased costs. Right. And we were talking about it afterwards, and I was saying some of them don't realize how thin of margins they're running on, that something like that can just completely take you out of the game, right? Like we were talking that our costs on like supply goods wasn't significant enough that it should physically run people out of business, right? We were definitely seeing increased costs, and there was across the board, right? It wasn't just goods, but we're saying if you're running a margin so thin that the inflation that came up with that was enough to run you out of business, I think the problem wasn't inflation. The problem was you were running way on lower margins than you should have. And I think some people just don't know.
I see everywhere all the time in all those groups that are out there for this industry, like, how much should I charge for this? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't answer that question for yourself, or at least have like some sort of idea, you're probably in the wrong space to begin with. But for me, it's always about knowing that margin, and I cannot go under it. And it's to the point where I don't let my sales team initiate an invoice or take a deposit. My sales team initiates estimates, and they put them out. And then it has to go to an accounting person completely different than the salesperson. Her goals and her concerns are not sales. Her concerns are making sure that I'm not going to be in her office saying, why is this at a lower GP, gross profit? Why is this not at the gross profit level or above that is our standard? Because she knows if it's not there, doesn't move forward, doesn't turn into an invoice, doesn't even allow a customer to put a deposit, because we have to protect that at all costs. If you don't protect the one thing that's employing everybody, and that's including the owner, that's paying the owner, what are you protecting? So, it's great to have great customers and want to help a customer out and win new business over another competitor and all these things. But if you're winning them at a lower gross profit, you're not winning. And so to me, I found myself in those situations. A lot of people come to me and say, I can get this, 60 vehicle fleet if I can do it at this price. And to me, I look at it and say, like, if that's under gross profit, I would rather that 60 vehicles go bog down my competition in the marketplace at a lower profit margin, because it allows me to be available to the guy that's willing to spend more and give me a greater profit margin. And a lot of times it's another fleet that's just willing to go at it. And so for me, even in like today's terms, like I'm handling a fleet yesterday, it was beginning to drop off another round of 25 vehicles. And we look at that and we're like, this is a over our standard gross profit margin. And I've got salespeople that are struggling to meet the gross profit margin. I go like, you're doing something wrong. Because if I can step in for just a couple hours a day and manage a fleet that's way over and talk about 25, 30 vehicles, there's no reason we all can't do it. So for me, it's just about those principles. It's about being unrelenting on them. Because to me, if the business starves, if you starve the business, you're done. Like it's over.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone explain it that way. There's a lot of people that talk about you have to be able to say no, right? Like
Sure.
in order to run a business, in order to scale a business, you have to learn the art of saying no to certain jobs, right? Some jobs aren't worth it. We always joke on our end that if your profit is zero, it doesn't matter how much you sell, you won't overcome that zero
Correct.
number, right? If I do $1 million at 0% profit, it's still $0. It doesn't matter how high that number goes. And we always joke on that with our sales reps when they send in like, oh, I have this massive order coming. Be like, what difference does it make though? If it's huge and the profit dollar is low, then it's just more work and less money. It doesn't work. But I've never heard anyone explain it like, oh, I'll let my competitor do that because then they'll be too busy to take the next job.
That's
and they'll
right.
have to come to me. I'd never heard anyone say that before. I think that's a great perspective that I think a lot of people don't see.
And you know what else is unique? I hear a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that have been in the industry long enough now to where they're looking at, hey, is my business sellable? Like, am I going to be doing this at 60, 70 years old, or is my business sellable? And this is one thing we touched on yesterday in the panel as well is, ultimately, what is your business worth? If you think your business is worth $1 million because that's what you do annually, you're sorely mistaken. And so you hit the nail on the head when you say, if your profit margin is zero, but you're doing $1 million a year, then guess what? Your business isn't worth anything. It's not worth $1 million. It's not worth no bucks. So ultimately, as you look at the long term and you look at like how you get a business to the point of sale, if anybody's out there like thinking like at some point, I want to sell this business, you have got to understand margins and producing good margins. Because honestly, when I look at a business and an opportunity, I'm looking at like, what is the margin there left over after everything's done? After all the employees are paid, we've bought all the product, we've sold, we've paid taxes, we've done everything we need to do. What's at the end? That's the value of the business to me. And so many people look at it, based off so many different things. But in this industry, it's so driven off usually one human, and it's usually the guy who started the business or is the face of the business. And if that person goes, then odds are all of it's gone.
Yeah, if you can't take a week off work, you can't sell your business.
Correct.
That's mostly what it comes. Like we talk about this all the time, right? Like if you can't take a week off of work, there's things you need to add into your business to make it work, right? Some of that might just be software, right? Sometimes the bottleneck is just you're the only one that can put out quotes, right? You're the only one that can say like, yep, let's do it. And there's software now that will just do that, right? You put in every number as long as you know what those numbers are, which that's a whole discussion of its own. But if you know what your numbers are, it's really easy to say like, okay, if this comes in and they want X, we know what it costs. We can see it in the computer. And so we can quote it and know that we're going to be on the mark, right? Which is what you do with your accounting team, right?
Yeah.
They have every number that they need. When it comes in, they just do the math and they say, yep, this is where we need to be.
Yeah, and we're creating a blueprint from the beginning. From the salesperson is creating a blueprint to say, this is the material we're going to use, and this is what it cost. This is the labor we're going to involve in this, and this is what it's going to cost. And everything's identified there. This is what we're going to pay in sales commission. Everything's identified there. So when accounting is going back through this job and figuring out who we're paying our bills, we're paying Winsco for the month, we're paying all of our things, they know, hey, this is what I could pay. And if it comes in more, then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
So we really put the onus on the sales team to say, hey, understand your customer, understand the product you're using on the job. And that's one really important thing for sales to do is to identify the customer base, know what their pain points are and what they look at as success from us in getting that job to them, and what film are we using to achieve that. Because you don't always have to use cast wrap film on something that may not be relevant. So you can go to something a little bit less expensive and get a greater margin within the business. And so you really get into the dynamics and the magic of what excites me in business. And that is like creating great excitement about the product you're using, great excitement in the customer base that you have. And those two things rarely do not lead to great success in the business.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I think for people that don't know whether or not they're making money, I think hopefully that whole beginning of this podcast was great for them. Sorry to interrupt you guys, but I just want to take a minute to talk about Nakusa, the name behind R-Tape. R-Tape's the #1 application tape out there, but they are more than just tape now. Nakusa has a full range of products out there. Their new one is called NextBond. This is a UV cured adhesive. Why does that matter? It's an eco-friendly and durable option, but comparable to most of the eco-friendly options, this is a cost-effective product. So if you're looking for an eco-friendly product or a durable product or just in general a good vinyl, NextBond is going to be the one for you. This is available at wensco.com as well as all of their other products. So check it out at Wensco or reach out if you have any questions. Oh, and don't forget to use your Nakusa bucks. Have you heard about Metamark? Metamark is a company that sells premium graphic solutions for commercial and fleet signage. So whether that's walls or it's vehicles or it's tables or doors, we loved it so much we put it all over the podcast studio. So you can check it out on our videos or at wensco.com. The other part I wanted to talk about, I think especially you do a very good job at, is obviously you need to, if you want to scale your business, you need to bring in more business, right? You have to be able to bring in more jobs. What role do you think social media has played in that for you?
It plays a role. It's one of those things. So my background is in marketing. Like that's what I went to school for. That's what I brought to this industry. I love marketing till the day is long, but marketing is very tough. It's kind of like that ghost. It's air. You breathe it, you know it's there, you just don't see it. So for me, you have to be in multiple places. Like social media is a great place to be because it's free. You have to do it effectively and you got to be smart about it. But social media is a great place to be, but you got to find yourself in some other avenues. And for us, the biggest success is just wrapping vehicles within the business. The management team all has wrapped vehicles. And I can't tell you how many times the phone rings. Someone's like, oh, I saw your car over here. Oh, I saw that truck over here. And so that to me is putting your money where your mouth is. Yeah. When your customer base comes to you and they see that you have all your vehicles wrapped, you go like, I believe in wrap. Wrap is the key to success. It is brand awareness. It's in your face. Let me tell you, you can't turn it off. Yeah. You can't change the channel. You can't look away from it. It's there. And you've never pulled up to a red light to a wrapped car next to you and been like, I'm not looking at it. Yeah. I'm not going to look at it. You look at it and it's there. So to me, it's the best return on investment you can have in a local market. It just so happens we do it. Yeah. So it's a great win. But, we find ourselves in doing trade with some radio stations. We'll do some work for them. We'll trade out some of that. We do the same thing with some TV. So we try to put ourselves everywhere. But we do it at a very minimal cost because we see the value in wrap, number one. And so that's what we invest most of it in. But social media is a piece of the puzzle. And the beauty is that we sell a product and have a product that's eye candy. Yeah. It does very well on social media inherently. So to be able to utilize that is always key. I just don't want to put so much emphasis on it that people feel that's the only thing they need to do.
Yeah, and I do think that certainly happens, especially in this industry, right? Where like the car community is naturally on social media, right? Like that's why I think in our industry, it's easier to feel like you're making an impact in that avenue, but you may just be impacting people that are just interested in cars, right? They may not be the one that want to wrap their car ultimately, but so I think people put maybe too much emphasis on that total, but
I think people hit on likes a lot. Yeah. And the one thing I say about that is like, unless that's putting dollars in your bank account, it doesn't matter. So you could be way more successful and have almost no likes on post than the guy who's getting all the likes. You just don't know it, right? You see that and you're like, oh, that guy's doing it. He's killing it. But is his bank account killing it? Or is it just 100%. His social media account? Yeah,
I always joke. We were just talking with one of our vendors yesterday about the campaigns that we do. And I was joking that before we used to send out like a report, oh, how did it do? And like one of the lines on it was impressions, right? Yeah. And I was like, I think impressions is probably the worst word that's ever come into marketing. Like in general, I just think like it means nothing. Like it's just like a total made up number, like whether Facebook or Instagram or whoever, LinkedIn, whatever, the number they're giving you, it doesn't mean anything, right? The only thing that matters, the only thing anyone cares about is what you said, right? It's going to be sales, whether or not it actually works in the long run. And I think a lot of people are just like, I have no idea, right? I don't know if it's working or if it's not working.
Isn't that amazing?
And it just comes down to like, a lot of that is just the easy stuff of like, when a job comes in, like you don't need that end survey that's like, oh, how did you hear about us? Just like ask when they call in, right? Be like, oh, how'd you hear about us? And be like, oh, I saw your car, or I saw your Facebook post, or I saw your ad. Like that's just that simple. And some people are like, I don't know. Be like, well, do you ask?
Yeah.
Do you ask
it's
your
so
customers?
critical, and so many people bypass it. Like you said, and we're guilty of that for a long time as a business. We didn't ask those questions, and I finally broke it to my salespeople. Say, if you don't ask, I don't know where to put the dollars.
Yeah.
And so if you're asking and you're coming back to me and you're saying like, Lou, I'm asking every customer, and every one of them are saying SEO or Google or whatever it is, then we're gonna funnel money in that direction. But if I don't know, I'm just kind of spreading it out, aimlessly across multiple spaces, hoping one's going to click and one's going to do the right thing. And so getting that feedback from your sales team or whoever's answering the phone to ask that simple question, it's so important to understand where your consumers are finding you, and so that you can exploit that.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. He talks about the word in marketing, your goal should be omnipresence, is what he says. Your goal is to be everywhere at all times, basically. And I have that like written on our whiteboard in my office. Like my goal is everywhere all at one time, right? And you're like, that's not possible. Like that's kind of the point, right? Like it's not possible. But if you make that your goal, you're going to be more places at more times than anyone else that's trying to do
perfection,
it,
right? You'll never get there, but
with that, you also need to know which ones are working the best, right? I should be everywhere at all times, but the places that are working best, I should be there more often than the other ones, right? Correct. And if you don't know what's working and what's not working, you can't push those levers when you need to.
Now we've hit on such critical things in business. If you don't know what your profit margin is and you don't know what's working for you from a marketing perspective, like how are you existing?
Yeah.
Like how is that happening? And so for me, it's so important. And I just think it's been absent from this industry for such a long time. And it's a true testament to how great the product is when you talk about so many people not understanding what their gross profit is on each job and not understanding the marketing value of what's out there, to say they still exist and have existed for 10 years sometimes. And I run into people that I respect in this industry and look up to, and and they're like, one guy called me a year ago and was like, you're gonna be so proud of me, I set up a Google business page. And I'm like, bro, you have been in business for 20 years and you didn't have a Google business page? Like, come on, man. Like, so it's the basics sometimes. And everyone's got an excuse. Like, I don't need it. I have this niche, contract, or I have this niche thing that I do. I don't need this. No, you do need this, because when that niche contract goes away for some God unforeseen reason, COVID, like whatever it is, what else are you going to fall back on? So like, as a business, you have to operate as a true business and be omnipresent, be in all those places that you can possibly be, to ensure your longevity in the long run. It's kind of like going to the doctor to get a checkup instead of just like living through life being like, I'm good, I feel fine, I don't need to go to the doctor. Like you just need to take care of the business as a person. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think that's a great way to end that section of the show. We're getting closer to the show time, so you're gonna hear a lot more noise, but I'll kind of wrap up the two things I wanted to let you end on. You want to talk about kind of what Pro Series is. Obviously, we've been talking about this. We were joking yesterday. We've been talking about it for like 4 years, and then we signed you guys up, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. So something we've been like, we should add, and then just took longer than we needed to add it. But talk about what that is, and then I'd love for you to talk about kind of the show that you have coming out, what that's about, what the goal is with that, and kind of where people can find it. So.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate it. I said yesterday, it's been the longest courting process ever. We've been asking Winsco to be our girlfriend forever, and finally we're there. We're so happy to be involved with Winsco and have our products there. But Pro Series was created to really kind of bring life and coolness to tools. Like, tools are out there. I'll never forget like buying my first squeegee. I think it was a 3M Gold, and I go buy it and they just slap it on the counter, and I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, well, here's my squeegee. So from day one, packaging was everything for me, and from a marketing background, like that's just me. But we wanted to make cool tools that artists in this industry respect and look at and go like, that's beautiful. That's cool. It works. It makes my job easier. And so we've worked diligently over the past almost 10 years now in creating tools and just unique things to give back to the industry, to make them feel proud for the tools they have and use in their shops every day. And they're all color coordinated. They all work together. It's a brand. And the other thing that I really have looked for in Pro Series is, let's make a complete product. So we have a collection of tools that is everything you need to do a wrap. And so we're not like the big conglomerate with like everything under the sun, but we have essentials that you need to get the job done. They all match, they all look great, and they all make you look like a professional installer. And so that's really Pro Series to me. And what it will continue to be in the future is just constantly pushing tools, making them better, making them stand out to the industry. And hopefully we find people out there that love to use the tools just as much as we love creating them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they've been great. I love the whole design behind them in terms of it feels like you're getting something. Like sometimes I think in this industry, especially, you'll pay for something, and some of these things are not like cheap in general, right? We're not talking about tools, but in general, and you'll get it, and it'll be like, well, this doesn't feel like what I paid for.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Versus, I think yours would be the other way, right? For what you pay for it, and then what the product that gets delivered is like, oh, I was not expecting this coming out of it. So
yeah, we want to sell an experience with a side of a tool,
yeah,
and
100%.
so when people get them, and we know that's working because we see so many people video and put on Instagram the box and opening the box, and you're not even to the tool yet, but they're just look at the box, it just looks so great. Excited. So for us, that's winning. That's winning, is that we've given something to people they can be proud of. They can be proud to be in this industry. They're proud of what they do. They are artists, and so give them something amazing. And so I joke that we give an experience with a side of a tool. And I think transferring over into the PID shows launch, that's exactly what we're trying to create too, is an experience. We're trying to give a wealth of knowledge from so many different spaces in the industry that I look at the PID shows project as a well-rounded shop experience. And so we've got, Glarb, who's talking about design and how to effectively watch out for bleeds and efficiency in the printing and all that kind of stuff. And we've got two women that are just rock stars in the industry, Jen Carney from Women of Wraps and Christine Lanzarone from out in California. She's doing a bunch of training with manufacturers and just did some with you guys. And so we've got different perspectives. We've got trainers from Avery Dennison, trainers from Hexus, trainers from 3M. So well-rounded. Myself, I'm going to bring a lot of business knowledge, sales tactics, gross profit, monitoring and achievements to it. And Josh Prater, who's a personal, long time friend of mine, I've known him since I was 16 years old, has an amazing personality. Started, when I started 201 Wrap in 08, it was he and I. And he's bringing a show that unboxes stuff and uses tools and products and things within our industry and gives a real installer perspective of what it is. And it's great, and I love this, but this was kind of weird, or I overcame this, but this is what you kind of got to watch out for. And so he's doing a really good job with the Unwrapped show, kind of unwrapping tools and products and things in our industry as well, and kind of giving real reviews on them. So this grouping of 9 people is just a rock star list of people within the industry. And the one important thing is that we've discussed as a group that we want to bring up people in the industry. We're getting old. And at some point, our time will pass in this industry, but we want to make sure there's a second generation coming into the industry. So the PID Shows project is truly meant to find people that kind of complement each of those hosts and bring them in as guests and bring them in as fill-in host when they're not available to do a show and things like that. So the long-term goal is to really, really, really grow the industry and give you insight and perspectives on things before you fall into that hole, so that you can grow your business and make it the best that it is in that market. And that's what we want for everybody. And you're going to be able to find it on Patreon. There is a link to the subscription side. It's a $20 purchase a month. But for a shop and even an individual, the value you're getting from 9 people giving you shows every single week on the industry, tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff, I feel is well worth $20 and help support these guys that are putting all these shows together and doing all the time they are to film and record and do all this stuff to put it out and keep the industry going in the right direction. Yeah,
I thought it was a great idea. Right when you started and I saw it coming out, I was like, this is going to be exactly what we need right now, because I think there's not a lot. Guys, before we leave today, I just wanted to ask you one quick question, and that is, what is a pirate's favorite application tape? R tape. R tape is the #1 application tape in the United States, and it comes with an RLA, which is a release liner adhesion, meaning it's going to stick to the liner. Even on cut graphics, if you roll it, it's not going to tunnel, wrinkle, or curl, or anything like that. So if you're looking for the best application tape for cut graphics out there, R tape RLA is for you, and you can get it at wensco.com. What we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of like, oh, here's how you wrap a fender. Here's tricks for doing the hood, right? But there's not like hey, here's everything before we get to this part, and here's also everything before that. How we even get the job in the first place. Like, how do we do that? Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of that out there. And what is out there, I don't think is super visible, if that's the right word for it. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people that know about that type of content. So I think I thought it was a great idea as soon as I saw it come out. So I'm super excited to see it come out and see what it looks like. So
we're excited as a group. Like, we've got all this work in front of us, and yet we're excited because we know, and everybody in this group is passionate about the industry. They want to see it grow. And you see them at these shows, like they're volunteering their time to judge, they're working in booths, they're doing all these things in the industry already. And so we're just corralling them together and taking their brains and like putting it into a video series that you can jump on and watch anytime you want. The videos stay forever, so you can go back and revisit them as you want. But ultimately, like, we're just trying to build that excitement in the industry and give back to the industry, because we've gone through so much growth, and we don't want to see the industry kind of backslide into something just because there's not present information on how to not go backwards. Keep moving forward.
Yeah, because it's really I think you made a good point. I think this show, the RapsCon specifically, has been a good point to this, where there's a lot of people that have been doing this a real long time, right? And have been doing this show for a super long time. And the generation that's coming next, I think in the last 2 years, I think is we're realizing, like, oh, we need a next group that's going to have to come through here. And we're not sure who that is right now. And I think if you're not in the industry, if you're not involved, it's going to be really hard to be the next group to kind of step up and help this grow from where it is now to where we're going to be in 5-10 years, which is what they were talking about on the panel yesterday too. Yeah. So if you're passionate about this industry, which is what also they were talking about yesterday, you want to see it grow, you want your shop to grow, I think the show will be a great addition for that. So
awesome.
Well, cool. They're probably going to kick us out of here soon, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But I'll put links to everything we just talked about in the description. I'll get them from you, and we can share them out there. But yeah, thank you seriously for coming on. We appreciate it. I think this conversation I enjoyed it, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. And thanks again.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Winsco, for having us. And don't forget, they've got all of our line of tools now. Yeah. So check them out and see all the cool tools that we've put out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thanks guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you guys.
Bye.